We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
Coppola questions. I didn't really write any questions down because I feel like everything is explainable. Throughout. But I guess the real big question is, like, what do you think Donald really represents to the actual Charlie Kaufman? Just the person he wants to be, the person he wishes he was, or the other half of his personality.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I don't think it's of someone he wants to be. I think it's somebody he acknowledges he is in one way or another, but tries not to be. Like, it's, he knows how to write a successful movie script. It's formulaic. He can just follow the writing prompts or whatever. I mean, at some point in his writing life, maybe he did all of that. He went to seminars or read books about it, and so that's why he kind of looks on it with contempt. Like, I'm beyond that. I can write, the real challenge is taking a story that doesn't have a structure that turns into a movie that's supposed to be realistic and turn that into something profound.
Which is true. I mean, it's amazing that he was able to. Like, this movie came out of The Orchid Thief. Like, it's fucking insane.
And I think it's just Donald is that version of himself that he slowly
holds back. I think.
But then he realizes he can't. It's part of him. It's intrinsic. He has to rely on it, and there's nothing negative about it. He just he learns from that aspect of himself, and then eventually he kills him off in the script because it's sort of he's absorbed it back into himself and gotten over his writer's block and his. I don't know if he's fully gotten over it, but his inferiority complex, his neurosis, whatever you want to call it, he learns to overcome it by embracing that aspects of Donald, and turning in a successful script.
I remember the first time I watched it, I really hated that Donald died because he's so likable and lovable, and it's like, why'd you have to kill him at the end? Like, I didn't like that. But then when you take a critical eye to it, it makes perfect sense. It's like, this is another part of Donald or of Charlie, and like he has to kill it off in order for him to grow and to become the person he actually wants to be.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what McKee was saying, is like you have to be able to find those things in yourself.
Yeah. And it also adds emotional weight and drama and stuff that you would need in a third act finale.
Yes.
to make a movie. So it's like it's that meta commentary on films again. Like, he's not a real person. We know that even but watching the movie, but you feel like he dies and you feel really bad for Charlie and stuff. But it's like, I guess to some extent, nobody's real in any film. It's all made up, but we buy into that fiction and trick ourselves. So why not? One fake person's death adding emotional weight is no different from another film. So the fact that it's in this movie just helps reinforce those ideas that film structure is there for a reason. And if you wow them with a third act, you have a successful film. Everybody will forgive the other stuff. And each of the acts of this movie all feel different. And you can feel pretty flawed, I think, at the start if you don't really know what you're watching, but things kind of coalesce as it goes along. And then you get wowed in the third act, and it's like, everything is one cohesive story, and it's great.
Yeah. And it does have a real structure to it.
Yeah.
Like, if you really dial it back and like look at it from 10,000 feet, it really does have the 3-act structure of a regular conventional movie.
Let's just imagine the process of that, like going from trying to adapt this book to interjecting yourself into it, and then struggling with trying to adapt the book, struggling to create structure, interjecting yourself, and then somehow using that to create the structure of a completely different story. That's a story within a story within a story that ends up being the movie that you end up watching.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no delineation between the fictional story, the actual movie that we end up watching, Charlie Kaufman, the character, Charlie Kaufman, the actual writer. It all just is an Ouroboros that eats itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
For infinity. But somehow works. It's its own package. It's
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only question was, what's up with the quote at the end of the credits? Why was there a quote from a character we don't even really know, Cassie, from a fictional movie written by a fictional character?
Yeah.
In it, like, and I maybe I thought maybe it was just as a joke, as a dedication to Donald being, you know, a dead fictional character. Let's toss out one of his, you know, one of his quotes that is profound if you think about it. It's laced with the stupid. Yeah. It's like him talking to a lieutenant at the police force or whatever, but there's hidden wisdom in it if you stop and think about it. And it works both from the idea that this is a guy with multiple personalities playing three different characters, but also you can look at it as we're all cells in the being of human existence on the earth. We're all forming one organism, but we don't know it and we don't act like it.
And it goes back to the adaptation theme of like, we all just came from the same thing. Like we're all part of the same thing, and we all.
Yeah, there's the clip of Darwin where he talks about there's one. I have to, you know, what does he say? I have to conclude that there's one specific organism that all other organisms are descended from, and we're all just repeating patterns of that. So yeah, I think that got lost in our breakdown, but it was a thing in there.
Yeah, as you know, at a certain point, you just have to gloss over certain things because it's like.
But I mean, now thinking about it, that quote didn't really seem to make a lot of sense, but now it does tie into that theme if you look at it and dig a little deeper. And it's a perfect coalescence of Donald and Charlie. It's profound with kind of stupid, you know, it seems like hacky writing that you would see in a cliche dialogue in a cop movie or whatever. But he has to be both. He has to use both to be a successful screenwriter. Yeah. Like he has to embrace the sides of Donald and the sides of Charlie.
It's kind of genius. I mean, like you have to assume that Charlie Kaufman was the one who was like, please put this at the very end of the credits. And Spike Jonze was smart enough to be like, okay, well, this ties into everything else. And and it's like a thing that 99% of the people who watch this are going to miss. Yeah. So it's got fucking, so many layers to this movie. It's insane.
I think like you said, everything is pretty much explained.
Really well tied together. I mean, it's hard to even like, I mean, there are things that you could question of more like, pondering, like, do you think that Charlie ended up with Amelia at the end and like eventually they came together? But I think he'll fuck that up just like he fucks up everything else.
I also think that would muddy the message that he got from Donald, which is exactly. Like, it doesn't matter what happens as long as you love the person that defines you.
Yes,
so
exactly.
You should be happy with that, I guess.
It would cheapen that moment if they did end up
getting. She does confirm that she loves him back, but she's kind of moved on with her life.
They both adapted.
Yes. It's fun. Like, even that, like, just the name of the movie works on so many different levels of this film. Like, it's incredible. Anyways, let's stop jerking off the movie.